Welcome back to Eat Sleep Boxing Compete's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Elliot and Paul for another weekly preview ahead of this weekend's action. We'll go straight into it, gents. Gennady Golovkin returns at 40 years of age for his first fight in around 18 months against Murata for the WBA Super and IBF middleweight world titles. The fight's happening in Murata's country of Japan. Obviously, Golovkin's fought in the USA, fought in Germany. He's obviously had him in London, but he's fighting in Murata's backyard for this fight. I think the main topic of discussion is at 40 and after a bit of time out of the ring, how much of a force can Golovkin still be? Obviously, we know he's had a fantastic career. A lot of people thought he beat Canelo once, maybe twice. A big good debate about that all day. I'm sure we could. But that's just want to know your kind of general thoughts on this fight and what's left for Golovkin. We'll go to Elliot first on this one.
So I'm one of those that thought he beat Alvarez. Just have to put that on record, especially in the first fight. I don't know what I feel about this. To be perfectly honest, when I was thinking about it initially, I was thinking, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be a big Murata fan. I know obviously he's in the rankings. I haven't really watched too much of him. He's lost a couple of times, 16 wins, 2 losses. I think the intrigue for me here is what's Golovkin got left, and I'm wrestling, frankly, with not saying the old cliche of power never leaves you sort of thing at the same time. But it's one of those things where you're looking at it going, I think Golovkin will win, but I'm almost looking at it beyond this fight. Like, where's he really going to go? That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. And like you're sitting there saying, like, obviously he's fought in the US, and now he's going over to Murata's country to fight, and you're sort of thinking that's also a bit of a downward step. I think, and if you're looking at it from sort of power struggle that way, I just think, I think he'll win. But I mean, the people I've been speaking to is obviously going with KO most of the time. But I think you're looking at sort of Golovkin of yesterday, in giving it an easy KO win. I quite clearly see him as winning on points. I can see that happening, frankly, as well. Long time out of the ring. But I don't think it will be the Golovkin of old, sadly. But I still think he'll have enough to win, frankly, as well. So I'm expecting a Golovkin victory. I just hope it's not one of those sad victories where you're looking at it going, I remember the glory days, the heyday.
Yeah.
That's how I'm kind of looking at this fight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think he's quite a strong favourite, and it's an interesting one because I feel like another factor here is that Murata is clearly a decent fighter, but he's lost a couple of fights that were both on points. Yet he's in with Golovkin, who's obviously got a high KO ratio, but maybe isn't the fighter he was. So if Golovkin does win, can he stop Murata, and how close does he come to stopping him? There's kind of a lot of factors here. Paul, what are your thoughts on this fight?
I actually see this as a very even fight, to be quite honest. I see Murata as a very live underdog, and one that I myself could be tempted to back if I was to place a bet on it, because I look at Murata and he's got 13 KOs, wins out of his 16, so he's clearly a big puncher as well. Obviously, he's had nowhere near as many fights as Golovkin, but they're sitting at kind of the same percentage KO ratio, so they're both of them frightening punchers. And then I know you touched on a couple of losses there that Murata has had, but against Hassan and Dam and Rob Brandt, but he avenged both of those losses in immediate rematches. So it's one of them where obviously you can't say he's undefeated, but he did beat the guys that beat him. So I don't really think you can read too much into that. But again, it's like Elliot said, it's the Golovkin of, even 18 months ago when we have seen Golovkin the last few times, he hadn't looked anywhere near as good as he did in the Canelo fights. So, was there signs of a slight decline there? I think it's always going to happen when you get into your late 30s and now into his 40s. It's just a matter of, I couldn't see Golovkin knocking Murata out, but I don't know if this sounds ridiculous or not, but I could see Murata knocking out Golovkin potentially. That's not my prediction. That's not what I'm going to predict. But if I woke up, this is in the middle of the day, if I was sitting there watching that and I saw that happen, but I wouldn't be at all surprised. I do think that what Elliot said is very accurate about Golovkin potentially winning on decision. One of those reasons might be about the fact that he knows Murata has been beaten twice on points. If he just keeps him at range and Murata can't get his power shots off, So I do see that potentially happening, but it's a very interesting fight and one that I'm actually really looking forward to.
Yeah, it's definitely the fight of the weekend, and looking forward to getting other people's opinions as we approach Saturday. Moving on swiftly, gents, talking about the undercard fight of the weekends. Elliot, I believe you're going to talk us through this one.
Yeah. So obviously Junso Nakatani versus Ryota Yamauchi. If I was going to go full Steve Bunce, I'd be calling him Ryan Yamauchi, but I'll try and pronounce it correctly. So he's obviously defending. This is their defense of WBO flyweight title. And if you're looking at it on paper, I know that he's favourite. He obviously had a very good win in September against Angel Acosta, 22-2 with 21 KOs. But then you're looking at it, obviously there's a disparity. Nakatani is obviously younger, but he's more experienced. He's been a pro for 2 years longer. Yamauchi's coming to this contest having 13 less fights than Nakatani. So you can look at it that way and go, maybe there's a reason why he's the favourite essentially, and there's a slight underdog status there. But like Paul was actually saying with the Golovkin fight, I actually see potential here for Yamauchi to be actually a very live underdog and very live opponent. He's ranked 2 by the WBA, 2 by WBO. So again, this is not necessarily one of those walkover fights, even there's a disparity in records and experience, and obviously one being undefeated and one not being undefeated. And again, I'm looking at this fight personally. I'm going to come to you guys and then just ask you who you think is going to win. I'm looking at it personally as probably a Nakatani victory, but I'm also looking at it beyond that in that flyweight division as well. Again, there's some big fights that could possibly be made with Nakatani after this, but it's not a walkover fight by any stretch of the imagination, in my opinion. So I'll come to you guys just for a quick impulse sense check how you think this fight's going to play out, and I'm going to come to you, Paul, first.
I think you've summed it up quite well there. Again, it's one of those whether the bookies make it out to be a lot wider than perhaps we see it. But I do think you've got to side with Nakatani, to be quite honest. Will he stop him? I don't know. Yeah, probably. I think he might. So no, it's an intriguing fight. It's one of them where, again, people will probably give off that the zone undercard. Look at how one-sided this undercard is, but I don't think it really reflects the true nature of the fight. So again, it's one of them where if you're going to tune in for the Golovkin Murata main event, you may as well watch this fight as well, because it definitely could be one that does give us some fireworks. But yeah, I think I've got to side with Nakatani.
And it's like I want to come to you, like Paul saying, obviously Nakatani's got 17 KOs, that was 22 wins, but Yamauchi's also got 7 KOs out of his 8 as well. So there's obviously power in both of them, which is quite surprising in some ways in those lower weights. You quite look forward to just sort of, obviously there's more technical skill in windmilling essentially. But do you see this fight going the distance? Do you see it a Nakatani victory?
Yeah, probably not going the distance. Looking at the two guys, I think it's rare you get two flyweights who are both punchers kind of in the same fight, especially kind of I'm a big fan of Sonny Edwards, but it's very different to these guys, obviously, who's in terms of kind of KO percentages. I don't really expect to go the distance when both guys can punch as hard as they can. I imagine Nakatani's the favourite. I'd expect him to win, but no, 100% a good worth watching on the undercard of Golovkin Murata this weekend, because it's a well titled fight. It's like to end in a KO, and I think that the winner of this fight is a possible future opponent for Sonny Edwards as well. If that Martinez fight can't be made, I wouldn't rule out and Edwards facing the winner later this year.
Imagine sticking one of these guys in with Martinez as well. I mean, that'd be fireworks as well. So yeah, I think if we're going to talk about it as a Triple G fight, maybe it could be, we don't know, like it could be the evidence of sad decline. This fight at least is two guys that are kind of in their prime, 24, 27. So absolutely, it could be a good fight.
Yeah, no, it's I feel like the flyweight division's definitely kind of come to life in the last couple of years. People are more aware of the fighters that are in it, to be honest. So yeah, good stuff. Paul, finally going to come to you, mate. Under the radar fight of the week. What have you got for us?
Yeah, my under the radar fight of the weekend comes in the super welterweight division, and whatever we think it's worth, there's a WBC interim title on the line. For if you ask me, it's worth absolutely nothing. But sure, anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. Yeah, it's the Ericsson Lubin against Sebastian Fundora fight. I think it's a great fight. I think it's a really real 50-50. The bookies are slightly siding with Lubin, I think. I think no, they're not. They're siding with Fundora. Sorry, I was getting myself mixed up, but ever so slightly. But I think it's quite an even fight. I actually think Lubin could win. You know, if you look at both of them, they both have again a decent enough KO ratio. Lubin has 17 KOs in his 24 wins. Fundora has 12 in his 18 wins. Lubin's only defeat did come by first round KO in 2017 to Jermell Charlo. So, you know, you kind of look at that and think, did he just get caught cold that night? What's his chin like? But you never know. Fundora, he's kind of got an unblemished record. He drew in 2019 to Jamonte Clark, but since then he's had some good wins. Most notably last time out there in December, he beat Sergio Garcia via unanimous decision. He's also in action this weekend, actually, against Tony Harrison in another good fight. But yeah, I think it's an interesting fight. I think it's one of them where, because it's for the WBC interim title, you think that the winner, even if it is Lubin, who has been knocked out by Charlo before, you got to think that the winner is going to get the Castano and Charlo winner, because obviously they're rematching in a month or so's time as well. So I think that this is a very important fight in the 154-pound division. And yeah, I thought when we were having a look at the schedule for this weekend, I thought, yeah, that one really jumped out to me, and if I can, I'll be tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a genuine 50-50 fight. I think it's the fights that we want to see as boxing fans. And yeah, I think you kind of summed up quite well. The winner of this fight could fight for the undisputed title at the end of this year, which is it's a massive opportunity. My personal opinion on the fight, I would side with Fundora personally, but it's a 50-50 fight. You might as well kind of flip a coin. But no, looking forward to it. I think although it's kind of, we're labeling it as under the radar fight, kind of a lot of eyes should be on this because it's a big fight. Yeah, I'll go to Elliot for his thoughts as well on this.
That's a good pick. It's a great pick from Paul. He's pulled out another one. Glasses only means business. We've got so it's again, it's like, obviously, like I said, two guys, like Paul said, two guys in their prime age wise. Both experienced. It is literally a 50-50 fight, both top 10, both very closely ranked to each other. Well, to be honest with you, when I was looking at it, I was leaning, I don't know why, but I was just leaning slightly towards Lubin. But that's, to be honest with you, based not really on anything other than a hunch. I clearly see the guy prevailing. Again, I'll leave again. You know, Fundora's 12 KOs out of 18. Lubin was 17 out of 24. I can actually see this fight going the distance. Personally, maybe so. I could probably see. Sorry, Fundora on points actually is probably the smart bet for me. Actually, I'd often contradict myself, but that's probably where I would lean if I had to stick some money on it. But I've just got this sneaky feeling for some reason that Lubin's going to win, but Fundora points would be the smart money for me.
Yeah, sounds like we've all got slightly different opinions here, but no, I think it's definitely one I'm looking forward to that a little bit more now, and looking forward to seeing what the winner can do, hopefully against the winner of Charlo and Castano later in the year. But we'll have to see if that fight actually happens. All right, gents, thanks for joining us as always. Same time, same place next week as Conor Benn returns amongst other fights as well. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Just cheers, lads.